I was so nervous.
You were nervous?
I recently saw a really painful family situation unfold, and it left me feeling so sad for the children who seem to be caught in the middle. There's this dad who clearly adores one set of kids, particularly those connected to his current wife, but he completely neglects his other biological children. Watching him tear up over one daughter, Aurora, and gush about how proud he is of her was heartbreaking, especially knowing the other kids are desperate for his attention and support but get pushed aside. It's like he can't separate what he wants from what his kids actually need, emotionally and mentally. Everything seems to revolve around himself and this new wife, Robyn. They treat her kids as this precious gift, while the rest of his children feel disregarded, almost invisible. The way he clings to all the families instead of letting the first family move on is really sad. And what makes it worse is that he doesn't seem to feel any guilt about how badly he's hurt them. And Robyn, as a mother, seems to turn a blind eye because she's benefiting from the situation. We've got so much to dive into today, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Elena here, and welcome back to my channel Reality Nexus X. There's also this sense that their whole dynamic is performative, like a show put on for appearances rather than genuine family care. The emotional moments with Aurora felt forced, almost like a scripted scene. It's hard to watch because it highlights the obvious favoritism and the hurt it causes. The kids who get left behind don't just feel ignored. They're grieving the father they should have had. What's even more complicated is the adopted kids. On one hand, he's very involved with them, but on the other, it feels like his attention to them is part of a bigger power play. There's a competitive vibe, like he's trying to prove he's a better dad to them than their biological father ever was, all while neglecting his own children. That really points to insecurity and control, rather than unconditional love. The older biological kids are often expected to just grow up, move out, and figure things out on their own, while the adopted children stay home indefinitely. It's a stark contrast that seems unfair and unhealthy. One daughter, Aurora, seems particularly emotionally fragile, and some worry she might need professional help to manage her anxiety and emotional regulation. It's painful to see her portrayed in such a vulnerable and dependent way, needing permission to make adult decisions like baptism. Meanwhile, the father seems proud of how little he does for the older kids, while doting on the younger ones. His relationships come across as transactional, based on who pleases him, not on real love or respect. The children who speak honestly or challenge him lose his affection, while those who are compliant are favored. It's also clear that the wife, Robyn, exerts a lot of control and influence in the family. Some people find her behavior troubling, especially how she seems to have pressured her daughters to be perfect and to accept this man as their daddy, which has had a lasting impact on them. There's a sense of manipulation and grooming that leaves a bad taste. What strikes me is how this kind of family dynamic isn't unique. It echoes a classic painful pattern where a middle-aged man abandons his original family for a younger wife and a new set of kids, but keeps the old family tied up in a messy, unhealthy web. It's the kind of story that leaves so many people hurting and disillusioned, especially the kids who end up on the sidelines. And the dad's performative displays of affection, like hugging Aurora tightly in front of cameras, only deepen the pain for the others who see it and feel left out. It's almost cruel, like a show of favoritism designed to make the others jealous or feel like they don't measure up. At the same time, it's hard not to feel sympathy for the kids who've grown up watching their dad invest more time and love in his new family than in them. Their pain is real, and it's a kind of heartbreak that doesn't easily heal. All of this makes you wonder about the long-term effects on these children, and whether they will find ways to heal and build their own lives away from the dysfunction. It also leaves you thinking about how complicated and messy family relationships can become when love is conditional and shaped by control, favoritism, and personal insecurities. There's a complicated and tense dynamic within this family, centered around the father, Kody, and his relationships with his adult children, especially Isabel, Aurora, and Maddie. It all starts with Isabel having to undergo surgery, a major, life-altering spinal procedure. Despite the gravity of the situation, Kody chose not to be there for her. Yet, when he was separated from Aurora for just 10 days, he was deeply upset, even crying. This contrast struck many as odd, because Aurora and Isabel are both his daughters, but his reactions toward them are so different. When Maddie, the first of Kody's children to get married, asked him to officiate her wedding, his response appeared annoyed, lacking warmth or pride. But with Aurora, when she asked to be baptized with her pastor, Kody was visibly overjoyed. There's a sense that Maddie, at least for a time, was a favorite. She and her husband, Caleb, were even given a spare room during her pregnancy, a gesture no other children received until later when Robyn's kids moved in. Kody even described that time living with Maddie and Caleb as the best of his life, largely because he enjoyed Caleb's company. Caleb's health issues were serious, a pulmonary embolism during pregnancy, which prompted a move back closer to family for support. Unfortunately, when the family eventually left, Maddie and Caleb were left disappointed and unsupported during a vulnerable time. This has led to a lot of frustration, with many feeling that Kody's decision to leave when Maddie and Caleb needed support undermined any sincerity in his later regrets. It appears that Kody's affection was tied closely to how much his children, and especially their partners, aligned with his desires and expectations. Maddie's marriage was initially celebrated by Kody, who was excited about the idea of expanding his family and adding grandchildren. But when Maddie and the other adult children began asserting their independence and no longer adhered to Kody's controlling family vision, the relationship deteriorated. Kody seemed to see family members as either fully supportive or adversaries, with no room for neutrality. Those who stopped idolizing him or challenging his authority were effectively cut off, which explains why many of his biological children have strained or broken ties with him. Aurora's relationship with Kody has always been described as strange. He was caring during her panic attack, carrying her upstairs, but could not find the support to be present for Isabel's surgery. His attachment to Aurora seems less about her as an individual and more about her emotional dependence. She is seen as emotionally immature and kept in a childlike state, which fits Kody's comfort zone. Maddie was clearly a favorite for a long time because she was direct, honest, and opinionated, and her marriage to Caleb was welcomed, especially since Kody admired Caleb. However, when Maddie questioned Kody's authority and became more independent, the favoritism ended. Maddie also was criticized by Kody for gossiping, even though sharing family news in a large family is normal and natural. There was also discomfort noted during Maddie's wedding ceremony. Kody seemed shocked and distant, not fully engaged, possibly because it was outside of his Mormon traditions, and involved Caleb's father, a preacher. Some felt his behavior was rude and lacking pride or ego, which was surprising given the importance of the moment. The divide between Kody's children is stark. Robyn's children appear to have a closer relationship with him, and Kody's visible bonding with them contrasts sharply with the distance from his other kids. Many see this as performative and ego-driven, a way for Kody to prove his role as hero to a subset of the family while alienating others. The long-standing family narrative portrayed by Kody and his wives depicts him as the family hero, but many recognize that this is a facade that masks favoritism and emotional manipulation. The disappointment runs deep with many of the older children who have endured feeling less favored and even neglected. Isabel's 18th birthday story, where Kody mixed up her age, was emblematic of his lack of true engagement with some of his children. Meanwhile, Kody's insistence on keeping the family households separate during the pandemic, to the detriment of connection and support, further underscored the unevenness of his relationships. Overall, the family appears fractured, with Kody's controlling and narcissistic tendencies shaping the dynamics. His love often feels conditional, based on compliance, idolization, and performance, rather than genuine acceptance and support. This has left many of his children estranged, struggling with the loss of a father who once seemed larger than life, but has since revealed deep flaws. I've been thinking about this situation where a family decided to move from Las Vegas to Flagstaff, and it always struck me as odd how none of the wives seemed to really question or figure out why the move was happening. Watching the story unfold, it's clear that a lot was going on beneath the surface, especially how the move seemed to revolve around one wife's needs and desires, yet all the others ended up losing a lot, including their financial stability and homes. At first glance, the reasons given felt kind of vague. One explanation was that one of the kids, Dayton, was accepted to college in Flagstaff, and since Arizona supposedly offered cheaper or free college to residents, it made some sense to move there. Plus, the show they were on was struggling with ratings and taking pay cuts, so the husband believed that moving might help keep the show going for another season or two. Another practical factor was the aftermath of a mass shooting in Vegas that led to the threat of tighter gun laws, which could impact the husband's side business involving guns. Arizona's laws were more favorable for that. However, when digging a little deeper, some pointed out that Arizona actually doesn't offer free college and tuition can be quite expensive. So, while Dayton's college plans might have been part of the reason, it likely wasn't the whole picture. There was also speculation that the move was to consolidate the family's wealth, especially the equity from their homes in Vegas, into one property in Flagstaff, which happened to be where the wife Robyn wanted to be. This would explain why the others had to chip in money to buy the new home, even though some of them were still renting at the time. It felt like a maneuver to funnel assets under Robyn and the husband's control. On top of that, the wives seemed to have different personal reasons for agreeing to the move. Some were hoping for fresh starts or promises of renewed affection from the husband, while others liked the lifestyle or the location. There was a religious layer too. The husband held a spiritual leadership role in the family, so when he presented the move as divinely inspired, the wives felt pressured to go along. Each seemed to find their own justification to go along, whether it was safety concerns, hopes for better family dynamics, or simply following his lead. Behind the scenes, it seems like many of the wives probably understood more than they showed. They might have suspected the move was really about Robyn's desires and the family's finances, but felt trapped. Speaking out could have led to conflict, and since the husband was the decision-maker, they had little choice. Plus, maintaining a facade of a happy family was likely important, especially with cameras rolling. There was also a fascinating detail about Robyn's stepfather, who lived in Las Vegas and was a land surveyor. He gave the family tours when they were checking out Vegas, and it appears he played a role in the development of the new property in Flagstaff. This connection adds another layer to why the move happened. It wasn't just about the kids or the show, but also about business and control within the family. Financially, some of the wives lost significant equity when they sold their Vegas homes, with profits ending up in the family account or tied up in Robyn's Flagstaff home. Some wives even tried to get their names on the new home title but were refused. This suggests a clear imbalance in control and resources, with Robyn and the husband holding the reins. Despite all these complexities, the wives rarely openly explained their reasons for moving in interviews or on camera. After years and some of them leaving the family, there's still no clear, straightforward answer from them. It feels like the full story is kept behind closed doors, partly out of loyalty, fear, or perhaps unresolved emotions. Looking back, it seems like the wives were caught between wanting to trust the family unit and realizing they were being manipulated. Some were distracted by their children's transitions and the show's demands, others by promises and hopes for change, and all were probably affected by the husband's control. In the end, the move to Flagstaff appears less like a practical decision for the family's benefit, and more like a calculated step to serve certain people's interests, leaving others to bear the cost. It's a reminder that family decisions are rarely as simple as they appear, especially when power dynamics and financial control are involved. Sometimes, the reasons are layered, messy, and hard to face, even for those living through them. So there's this situation with Robyn, one of the wives in a polygamous marriage, who claimed she's never been jealous of her husband being with the other wives. She says she never really paid attention to his schedule or cared if he was with someone else. But many who have followed the story closely find that hard to believe. The consensus seems to be that while Robyn presents herself as completely secure and non-jealous, there's a feeling she's actually quite strategic and manipulative in how she maintains her position in the family. Some point out that she's very good at stroking Kody's ego, and even taught their kids to do the same, which helps her keep influence over him. Others mention moments where she's clearly keeping tabs on him, like texting or calling when he's with another wife, which contradicts her claims of not caring. It's also said she has a knack for inserting herself in situations, like when Kody visited Meri during the pandemic, and Robyn insisted on FaceTiming, seemingly ensuring she's always connected or involved. On the other hand, some believe Robyn's confidence might come from knowing she has the upper hand. She's often described as the favorite wife, the one who owns Kody's attention, his money, and the house. Because of this, maybe she genuinely isn't jealous in the usual sense, not because she doesn't notice or care, but because she feels secure that she's the one he'll return to. It's like she won the competition among the wives, even if that prize isn't something many would envy. There's also discussion about the emotional dynamics between the wives. Meri, one of the other wives, is seen as insecure and indecisive, dragging things out and often getting stuck in drama, while Robyn is perceived as the strong, manipulative one who's trying to keep control. Some suggest that Meri and Robyn even work together at times to track Kody's time spent at each house, possibly to reinforce Robyn's position. There's clear tension and jealousy between the wives themselves, especially toward Christine, who seems to have something Robyn envies, maybe status or symbols like wedding rings. Interestingly, amid all this relationship drama, there's a side conversation about Robyn drinking milk as an adult, which some find strange or unsettling. It turns out milk as a standalone beverage isn't common among many adults, especially in the community they're from. People shared their thoughts about how milk is usually paired with desserts or warmed up, and that drinking plain milk as an adult feels odd to many. Some speculated that Robyn might have been pregnant in the scene where she drank milk, which could explain it. Bringing it back to the bigger picture, it seems like Robyn's whole story about not being jealous is met with skepticism. Many believe she's more involved in the family dynamics than she lets on, constantly keeping an eye on Kody, manipulating situations, and maintaining her favored status. Yet, there's also a sense that if she truly felt she was secure and in control, jealousy might just not register the same way for her. It's a complicated mix of power, insecurity, and strategy within a very unconventional family setup. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and much love to you all.